Max Kellerman, our woke king, formerly at ESPN, he now has a podcast with Rich Paul on The Ringer, which is Bill Simmons' network. And he is now finding himself in hot water because of what he said on that very platform. Now, to set this up real quick, the podcast is with Rich Paul, as you see right here. Rich Paul, the agent for LeBron James. They've known each other for a long time, been friends, long time. Rich Paul actually met LeBron James selling jerseys out of his car. And LeBron liked the throwback Warren Moon that he had on. They started chatting it up, and the rest is history. Now, what our main focus is going to be on is Max Kellerman, James Harden of the Cleveland Cavaliers, and the President of the United States. Why exactly? Because this is what Max Kellerman said on one of the more recent episodes after Game 1, when the Cleveland Cavaliers lost a 22-point lead in the fourth quarter. Quote, "Bringing in James Harden to win a championship is like electing Donald Trump to fix your country." Out there. Yeah. But now, after all of this went down, Max Kellerman is apologizing and backtracking. So here's what he said, and then we'll discuss.
Agree with you picking on James Harden, but that bar was...
But, you know, it went viral, and I realized after, because I guess it married politics and sports, and so it's a... And I just have to say right now, I shouldn't have said that because it's not fair to James Harden. I did not mean to insult him publicly in a way that was going to go viral, and it was too severe. I don't think it's as bad as all that, but I do think I was just using... See, Rich, when you make an analogy like that, you use hyperbole, you use exaggeration to make your point. So I don't think it's as bad as electing Trump to fix your country, obviously, but that's the idea. It's like that's the opposite of what you would do if you're trying to get a certain result.
Agree with
What? All right. So let's think about this, okay? Do I think that it was malicious? No. Do I even think that it went viral? No, I don't. I only saw the apology. But I think what is just so alarming to me is this from Rich Paul right here. Just dejected. And I have to ask, considering the stances that Max has taken, were you told to do this, man? You in your clearly Zuffa boxing Vegas style indoor glasses that you have on, that you're parading around. And here's the thing, James Harden was bad. He was bad. It's true. All City NBA podcast, which Tim Legler is on, the color commentator for the NBA finals. I'm sorry, for the NBA on ESPN, etc. James Harden was the screener defender on 21 on-ball picks in the fourth quarter and overtime alone. The Knicks got 1.6 points per direct action on those plays. I have another quote, actually. So look at this second one right here. "It was no secret we were attacking James Harden," said head coach Mike Brown. Just like we have to figure out different ways to guard Harden and Donovan Mitchell, they have to find ways to guard Jalen as in Brunson. And here's the thing. Jalen Brunson finished the game shooting 7 of 11 when being guarded by James Harden, as compared with 8 of 18 defended by anyone else. I'll get into it more in a moment, but I actually blame Kenny Atkinson for this loss almost as much as I do James Harden. James Harden was the best Knick in the fourth quarter and overtime. But what gets me is the irony in all of this. There's a deep-seated irony, and it is that someone like Max Kellerman has gone over hot takes and how he thinks they're just absurd and ridiculous, and yet he's giving a take like this, which is, in my eyes, ill-founded. But here's that direct quote when he sat down with Bill Simmons and it seems was able to finally speak on quite literally anything after being in exile from ESPN and Stephen A. Smith cutting the cord and letting him go.
That show is this. What is a hot...
He's talking about First Take.
Hot take. A hot take is a counterintuitive conclusion that on TV, you're going to just state your conclusion. You do analysis about a subject. You come to a conclusion that's counterintuitive. So when you say it, people will be like, what are you talking about? Give me 90 seconds. I'll explain it to you. Oh, at least he has a point of view. If there are 12 topics a day and you have 12 hot takes on those topics, because by and large, there's a consensus about sports. This guy's good. This guy's not as good. Whatever it is. This team is in the right direction, the wrong direction. Whatever it is. The consensus is usually correct, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes, some small percentage of the time, in fact, what everyone thinks is not true. If you have a counterintuitive conclusion about every topic in sports every day, you are insane. Like, Skip Bayless is very entertaining, and I always enjoy my interactions with him privately.
Yeah.
He's insane, right? Like, you have 12 hot takes a day? Unbelievable, right?
Right.
You've come to 12 conclusions that go against the consensus every single day.
That is his business model, though, to be clear. That is his business model. And I don't want to get too far off track, but this was a hot take rooted in analogy that comes to the conclusion that it probably just shouldn't have been said. It probably just shouldn't. And here's the other part about this. When you're trying to think about James Harden and you're trying to even relate him to Donald Trump, aside from being ridiculously wealthy, there isn't really much because he's not politically outspoken. Like, he wore the thin blue line mask in the NBA bubble. Does one need to have their memory jogged? This was after COVID shut the world down. George Floyd was killed by Derek Chauvin, with the help, in my eyes and many others, of Minneapolis police officers. And there was a shooting from an officer in Wisconsin. Okay. We knew what was happening. We learned about what this logo and message meant. When Black Lives Matter came about, the thin blue line was then born. And it was to symbol, no, blue lives matter, even though blue is not a skin tone, except if you're like a freaking Smurf. And as NBC even wrote, the reaction was swift, but here's what he said. Honestly, I wasn't trying to make a political statement. I honestly wore it just because it covered my whole face and my beard. It's pretty simple. All right, man. If you say so. If you say that's what it is, fine. That's what it is. I actually think one of the more egregious things that was ever stated about James Harden came from this guy, Chris Broussard, if one were to remember.
They're the only team that can pay him, and they're a desperate organization. But he's not going to be. You think he thinks he's going to play like he did? I think he's not going to get to play the way he wants, and he's going to milk it. It's not going to work well. Nick, if the man retires, shouldn't use that word, but sure. Developmentally disabled. Sure.
I mean, I actually thought that was way more egregious than anything that Max Kellerman said. I truly do. There was one more podcast that reacted to this entire quote, and it was with Theo Pinson and Raymond Felton, Darren Williams, etc. So here's what they said.
I mean, the Donald Trump is crazy, but
and that's the thing about it. What's the thing about it? It's like he's 17 years in. People don't understand, and they see guys like LeBron. That's what makes LeBron even more incredible. What he's doing.
Yes.
Because at 17 years, I only played 12 years, and I was already, my health and was already declining. Ankles fucked up, knees fucked up, injuries every other day, something new. So I think like Theo's saying, like, guys get spoiled.
That's true. They do get spoiled. And you can go watch the rest of the podcast. It is called To the Baja. But here's just what I say in quick conclusion. All right. It was just not great. That's it. James Harden is like one of the more apolitical people and apolitical athletes, which is, in my eyes, a detriment. You know, he crapped on Daryl Morey because of the relationship. But this was also a time when Daryl Morey was speaking out about Hong Kong. And he said Daryl Morey's a liar and da-da-da. Okay. The fact of the matter is, if you have James Harden out there who continues every single year in this league to be viewed as, by a wide consensus of NBA fans of being a me first guy, not all about having essentially a team first mentality, and also just like putting up huge numbers and getting a bag, but also being a defensive liability every single year. Like when the Golden State Warriors won, Steph was a liability, but not to this degree. If the Washington Wizards, who I think are going to be very good this next season, make a deep playoff run, they won't win because of Trae Young being a defensive liability. What we are seeing right now is iso ball, spread the floor, and let Jalen Brunson cook. That's it. Or OG Anunoby, who just drove past James Harden over and over and over again. And in closing, this is as much on Kenny Atkinson as it is on James Harden. You know this man's defensive liabilities, and yet you are continually throwing him out there to the Wolves, where Jalen Brunson is proving to be not even just worth the money, but also one of the better isolation players. Maybe it's because he is up against inept defensive abilities, but my God, if you guys are going to make this a series, something has to change. If you can and are willing, please become a paid member here at TYT Sports, and or go to tyt.com/join. In addition, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Appreciate it. Have a great day.